7:30.
It's
We'll get started.
It's not working.
It's not working.
Otherwise, we're gonna pass out cocktails and start talking. That would be a bad idea. Yes.
I may need an agenda.
Yeah, mine.
Okay.
Randy's too shy to ask, but he also.
I didn't get one, but
Were they not in
No,
your
Randy, I
folder?
got
I got no folder.
They didn't get folder?
No folder.
No.
We can print out some additional copies.
I wonder if she, what did she
Yeah.
put them in the other
Zach can
one?
grab some additional copies for you.
Here, we'll-
All right, so
I think I lost.
who else didn't get one?
Anyone else need one?
Yeah, she might have put them in the old conference room.
Everybody's got one though, right?
Yeah, I got one.
And we'll call the meeting to order.
No, it's not.
You wanna call the vote?
Sure. Councilmember Sheldon?
Here.
Brackman? Here. Ruba? Here. Reynolds?
Present.
Faulkner?
Here.
Russell? DeVersa?
Here.
Eklund? Here. And President Doles?
Here. Okay, this time, if anybody from the public would like to speak, please state your name and address and limit your remarks to 5 minutes or less.
Gary Mooney, Hotel Jamestown. I'm celebrating about 5 years here in Jamestown this season. And I would like to, in the next few sessions, give a retrospective, my rendition of the state of the city. So I would like to actually interview a number of you to prepare this so that I can have a true historical perspective, now from my perspective from yours. I would especially like to interview Mr. President and Madam President Retired. I would like to sit with you for 5 minutes and just get a 5-year retrospective, and so that I can gel my experiences with the experiences of the Ethical Press. I'd also like to interview at some time I'll contact you via email, and I will be in touch at these meetings. I think that it is best to discuss this at work sessions, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak?
Doug Champ, 225 Warren Street. I'm wearing my New Valentine red. I don't know why Tony doesn't have red on. It says he's so happy when Mary is going to take his wife out for dinner or something at home. Maybe you all are going to do something like that. Anyway, Kim, hope he doesn't.
Thanks.
I talked earlier at the housing committee meeting, and I strongly recommend that the president allow more time for housing committee. As we get involved in the construction season, citizens have questions, and you disperse the money accordingly to what the ARPA programs are all about. It's critical that more time be invested in housing. I'm not saying you have to do it all year long, but I'm thinking coming along now, there'll be a lot of stuff. And I think it's important that 15 minutes be moved to 30 minutes, even if it's got to be cheered by the president, if he wants to do that, till the others are here. But anyway, I talked about housing issues that are critical in this community. That's the future. And I'm calling, and I would be part of this effort, that the Department of Development and the Board of Public Utilities have a housing conference of the Jamestown housing for the future. What it means, what it is, how electrification is going to affect us, how's the housing condition in the city are we doing, do we need to look at a different type of housing model? I've often stressed that I think it's important that a different model house for Jamestown be looked at in the future, one that's more efficient. And rather than infiltration of these different sites, I'm looking at creating a whole block of newness somewhere that works. Where there be choices, whether it's vertical housing, whether it's small flat housing, whether it's housing in unison that are connected, we can work on that. But in order to do that, I think a conference is extremely important, as it is on housing, as it is for the BPU, to talk about the future and the needs of electrification. For instance, the amperage service in houses are well below the necessary amperage necessary to put on new electric efficiencies. I'm talking at least 200 amps service in homes. And we don't have that. So I've talked, Crystal's on board with a lot of stuff I've said, I hope, regarding salvage of demo houses, material that's available, it's been here for 50, 60, 70, 80 years, shouldn't end up in the landfill. It can be used, I reuse it. I go around and get stuff and do it. And there's abilities for that to be used and be shown how to do it. My other comment is I want to be sure that my statements that were made regarding the police department filling in officers is correct. I understand, and I appreciate the Post-Journal's efforts talking about the community and issues. It's important that that dialogue be established, even if there were points of incorrectness. And I think it's a good time, I think, about how do you hire a police officer, what are the requirements to do it, what are the stages for that development to occur. And my only concern is this, is that if we engage in a new season of noise, which we're going to have a test model this week, everybody comes out of the darkness into the light. And outside gets much more precarious in terms of noise, whether it be dogs, whether it be music, whether it be automobiles, whether it be whatever. It's going to put a real crunch on the police department. Because, as you know, they respond to the worst first. So I'd ask that maybe something be looked at regarding some kind of a noise compliant person or two to be hired during the summertime to work in conjunction with the police department, not a bona fide officer. I know the chief wants that, but like I said, you can't always get what you want. So what's the compromise here? Does it do the same old? Do what we do? It's an election year. You're going to get a lot of calls on noise. And the police do the best they can with what they have. So I'm thinking that the comment the Post-Journal made, think out of the box, not directly related to the nomenclature aside with people being hired, but I'm thinking about something a little bit different maybe for the city of Jamestown regarding the noise problem. Maybe there's a couple of people we can put on to respond to it. I know we're not bona fide, we don't carry, but they can be there quickly and respond to whether or not that is an actual complaint. And then the relationship between them and the police officer on duty might be able to be exacerbated a little bit quicker. I don't know, but this is what I'm suggesting. So whether you want to do it or you want to wait, there's going to be a time lag behind in terms of incorporating these officers on the terms of the procedure that they have to follow to get from an academy guy to an actual police officer. So always it's important, I think, to look at opportunities that may be there that we can take advantage of. Because it's an election year, and you're all going to get calls about noise. So what's your answer? Thank you. Chief, did you want to comment on anything I had to say?
No, thank you.
Am I okay?
You're okay.
Okay, anybody else here? Just a couple of things that, since you're the only one that spoke up, you know, there's different things we can look at in terms of, you know, when we hired the officers, and I think, you know, we hope that we have somebody on, but I think there's some things that we can look at. Coming up with, you know, you're already cranking up, we've already gotten nuisance complaints and noise and motorcycles and cars, and so it's gonna get worse as the season goes on, and there's certainly some things that the administration and council can look at to try to deal with that. I know they're a busy group, they're dealing and prioritizing what they have to go after, but there may be some things that we can look at. So again, certainly not taken lightly when we look at that. Thank you. No one else? We'll move on to, a little bit of housing, Marie? Like, before we start, there's one more thing about the housing committee. Just, it's always been kind of a frustrating thing about the time element. Any of the committees, and we've had this happen before in years past and in terms past, if they felt the need or they wanted to meet at different times, different days, we had, I believe, before a public safety committee a few terms ago that met during the morning, because they were all retired, they were all available, and they had more time, and they were able to do that. And I realize that, Marie has a job, and others, have jobs and work, and they're more than welcome, and we can discuss if there's a time when they need more time, that a week here, or maybe once a month, or whatever, rather than meeting 15 minutes and shoving everything in, can be a longer period, that may be a different time slot, but that's something we can work out and we can discuss with, I'll be glad to discuss that with you, something we could do.
No, we try to adjust it as we can, and I told you I have another board that I've been on for almost 30 years that I've committed to, and knew that when I got assigned to the housing committee. But I have made adjustments as I've been able to, and I will continue to do that, but I'm always available. If people call me at home, call me at work, I get a lot of calls even outside my ward about housing issues, because they know I'm on the housing committee, or they just think I get things done, so they call me. So I'm always open to that. I return calls. That's all I can do. I do the best I can.
And she does, she's very thorough at having the meetings and getting, presentations and things done and things explained to the public. So, thank you. All right.
We'll continue. For that, thank you, Mr. President. We do have a demolition list from the Department of Development that Crystal Civic, the director, presented. She gave us the high priority lists that are in process. Some are right now being abated. Others are being reviewed, and hope to have a signed contract with the land bank by the end of the week. But there's one list like this that has been very helpful. We did discuss there are some areas, talking to the idea that multiple units could be demolished that are in close proximity in some neighborhoods. We do, as the director did indicate, demolition is the absolute last resort. No one is looking at that as the first effort to help the neighborhoods. But in some cases, some of these properties just cannot be rehabilitated. What it would cost, it would not stabilize the neighborhood. The decision at that point is to demolish. As far as the salvage, I don't think anyone would disagree if we can salvage materials, but again, we talked about once it gets into the demolition phase and someone has bid on the demolition, they're entitled to salvage or do whatever they want. In some cases they may feel there's value, but in other cases it's not worth their time. They just want to knock them down, and that's it. But it's always great if they can, because we do have beautiful old homes who have a lot of beautiful woodwork that'll never be replicated in this day and age. So we would welcome any effort that we could do, but I think some of it was storage issues. There's a lot more to salvage than just you want to take things out. There's a lot that has to be dealt with. As far as the format, they are using the county's GIS system, and they do have an RFP in process. They're working with the New York State Department of State back and forth to make sure that the RFP covering a comprehensive plan and zoning code update will be in line with what the state's vision is. They're hoping within the next month or so that would be resolved, and perhaps you could have something in line. Again, dealing with the vacant properties right now, our zoning code would not permit micro houses. It would not permit infill. So we would have to do something to update and look at the next 5 to 10 years, that maybe what we've done in the past is not exactly what we need to be doing in the future. I think we can all agree that vacant properties don't help necessarily, but there has to be a way to try works not only for the person buying and infilling, but for the neighbors around it as well. I think the biggest issue I've heard regarding that is that people fear that their assessments will go down because you've got a property that's not worth what your property is next to it. And they obviously look at that when they appraise and what you can get for a mortgage as well. I think, we did have a discussion about the potential to maybe work with the cows. There is a company called Modular Homes that, Crystal gave us, that they have gotten a Fannie Mae grant. It would tie in with workforce development and possibly working with the college like JCC, doing satellite manufacturing, looking at, climate goals, geothermal, potential. And I know, Don Harrington has talked about that for years, has tried to get geothermal, heating in this area because it can be very affordable. And looking at net zero, the carbon footprint, how we can deal with and address climate issues going forward. So a lot to go, in process, and we'll be looking at that and working on that. But again, the more we can develop and build on some of these lots would help in terms of increasing our property taxes, so it would help the city in general. So more to come, but that was pretty much it. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think you covered it.
Crystal, can you
There was a
email
lot.
us that, the rest of us that list?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. And I'll email the link. I think I sent Marie, Regina, and Brent the link to
Okay.
module, but I'll send it to everyone.
But yeah, it's got potential, and right now it's on the code.
Yeah, and if it's not them, there are a lot of companies that are kind of doing similar things, so.
But that's it. Any questions?
Thank you.
That's all we have.
You're fine, Christine?
Absolutely. We also got a short agenda with 3 resolutions and some discussion. The first resolution is, resolved that warrants be paid and drawn to respective owners and paying agent the sum of $329,795.00 in accordance with the bond and note requirement for issue of March 3rd, 2021, $267,000.00 in principal and $62,795 for interest. And this is the first of 2 payments for the year, and the second will be due 9/1/2023 for interest only. This is for DPW parks, fire equipment, the fleet maintenance building, as well as City Hall and DPW fuel and other projects. That was approved 3-0. The second resolution was designating an additional $295.92 in American Rescue Plan Act lost revenue funds for the purpose of funding the purchase of the mobile data terminals for 12 police vehicles. As discussed last week, $40,000 was originally appropriated for this. The total invoice came in at $40,295.92, hence the resolution to adjust for the full amount. That was approved. Resolution number 3 is that the mayor be and he hereby is authorized to execute an agreement with R. Patty Concrete Excavating LLC of Jamestown, New York for ADA sidewalk ramps 2023 based on the bid opening of February 8th, 2023 for a total bid amount of $224,938.75, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. That was approved. One thing before we get into the informational, Katie has indicated that she sent to your office the updated ARPA. Can we get that on the website?
It's up on the website now,
Okay.
as of today.
Okay. Thank you. And then the other thing we discussed was the informational report for the fourth quarter sales tax review. Katie, it's yours to discuss.
Right, yep, so last week we received our fourth quarter of 2022 sales tax payment. The amount was $2,061,532. Our budgeted amount for the year was $8,131,477. Our total received was $8,137,420, so we came in at $5,943, or 100.1% at our budget.
and recall during the budget process, some of us had some concerns how the fourth quarter and year would end up, because third quarter was low, so I'm grateful for seeing it met and barely over the budget.
That's close.
That's pretty close.
Everybody had a very nice Christmas, I guess.
That was it for us out of finance.
Public safety,
We have the same resolution, $295.92 for the David terminals. We also approved a special event application for the Red Lene Centennial Celebration Summer Block Party. Be held on Thursday, July 27th, from 3 to 8 p.m. on 3rd Street, and Spring and Pine Street, right in front of the Red Lene, featuring Uncle Ben's Remedy, the musical act. And that was approved. Mr. Champ did cover a lot of what we spoke about here at a meeting earlier. Chief gave us some good news that we will be having 2 new officers will be getting their field work March 7th and 8th. They were on the civil service list, the new civil service list that we have. They are currently in the Sheriff's Academy, and they will be completing their field work with Jamestown Police Department. And the plan is to keep them on if everything works out well. That's good news. It's 2 new hires out of 3 that we talked about. That's all we have from public safety.
questions? Randy?
Thank you, Mr. President. We only had one resolution, which was covered in finance for the concrete flat work from RPAD excavating, and we approved that. And that was the only resolution that we had. We discussed a little bit of the grant that we received from the street safety program, and excited to see that and see if we can make some good things happen with that in the upcoming. Other than that, small meeting for us too.
Any questions? Before we go to the mayor's report, does anybody have anything else for your business?
Not new business, just a request. Is there any way we can update that council meeting dates on the website? It's got the 2022 meeting schedule on there still.
The PDF of dates?
Yep.
Okay, sure, we can absolutely do that.
I check
We-
out like 10 times a week to make sure I'm not missing any or anything.
Sure. We apologize. Normally we update the electronic calendar, but sometimes we don't. We miss the PDF, so we'll put that up there.
Anything else?
Excellent. Just making a note here. So before I begin my comments tonight, I did want to ensure that you all had an update about the Citizens Police Academy. So we do have Officer Matt Reinhardt, who is behind me, who I believe will give us just a brief update of how that process is going.
Yeah, so we're on the 4th week this week. The first 3 classes were all primarily introductory topics, penal law, traffic stops, stuff like that. This week is mental health for both police and for citizens, and there will be 2 of the attendees starting their ride-alongs this week, so I think this will be good. The weather's supposed to be warm for Friday and Saturday, so you'll probably get to see something. So, yes, that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions with about any of it.
Did you get 25?
We did 15, and we had one that had to drop out for some family stuff. So we have 14.
And what night do you generally meet? You meet up here?
Yep, every Wednesday night from 6 to 9.
Okay.
Certainly, if any of you are interested, reach out to the chief or to Matt if you wanted to stop in for one of those sessions. It's just unfortunate they don't do ride-alongs on Valentine's Day. I'm sure there'll be a lot of fun to witness on that night to go with Mr. Champ's comments.
Well,
I went on a ride-along. I mean, I went to the old police academy, and I made sure that I went to the 11 and 7 shift, because I wanted to go where the action was.
There you go.
They wouldn't let me carry though, that was.
Well,
That's so negative, they wouldn't let me have a
so just a couple updates for you all, and then I do have a couple executive session items. Won't be long for you this evening. Wanted to let you all know that next work session, which will be in March, we'll be presenting some additional ARPA and parks projects. We're trying to get some final amounts and funding, and so we wanted to make some recommendations to City Council for some final projects. So we're getting all those numbers together, and we'll do a presentation to you all in March so that you can work through that process, see if those are projects that you guys would like to continue forward. So just an update that we'll do that in March because we were still waiting on some final numbers and we wanted to make sure we have everything up to date. We'll do it as a presentation to City Council. Okay. As Randy had mentioned, we did receive the Safer Streets for All grant. That's $248,000. That is a federal grant. We were the only municipality in the entire congressional district to receive that grant. Only 500 municipalities across the state received it. It's for planning, design, and engineering to ensure that not only our school routes, school zones are safe, but how we can increase pedestrian safety and look at how we manage and develop our streetscape going forward as a city. So we're very excited about that.
Across the state or across the country?
500 across the country.
Country, yes.
Yep, this is a federal grant.
That's what, yeah, you said the state.
New York State had maybe 15
Yeah,
or
15,
so
20, yeah.
awards across the state. Yep. So there were 2 grants you could get. The first one is planning, engineering grant. The other one was an implementation. Only about 10 communities received the implementation. Anyone that receives the original grant for engineering and design are first in line for the next round of implementation grants. So pretty big news, and we're very excited about that. So thank you all for your support. Part of that was passing the Vision Zero and working towards that, so we're very excited to see that. What we do next, we did receive our official letter from the federal government. However, in normal federal government fashion, they do not want us to go out and bid the project yet. So once we receive that okay, we will put out an RFP for a consultant engineers to help us develop that plan. Okay? So we'll keep you guys updated with that through that process as well. Yeah.
Can I have a suggestion? Like the grant writer, I met her in the supermarket.
Sure.
She walked up to me to introduce herself,
Yep.
and I would not have known her, but I'd like to publicly thank her for all that she has done for the city. It's been tremendous, it's been money well worth spent, and I would really like to have her here so that, I don't know if anybody else knows who she is. I believe you have met her, Brent, because she said she.
I've known her for years.
Yes, but other people may not know who she is, but I think it would be a great idea if you could have her come.
Absolutely.
And just give us, these are the things I'm working on, and I really would like to thank her. I wasn't expecting to be there in the dairy section.
It does happen.
She walked up to me and said, I want to introduce myself, so I think it's well worth being here for at least.
Certainly so.
Thank you.
We'll certainly coordinate that, and Maria, as you know, she also works with JCC, and so I think JCC has been very happy with her work there as well. So I'm happy to bring her in. I'm sure she'd love to be able to not only give you all an update, but give you a chance to ask questions. On the same vein, you may have also heard, I think I let you all know that we received the Assistance for Firefighters grant, the AFG, which is a FEMA grant. That was in the value of $284,000. That is for the purchase of new interconnected county radios, as well as a new ropes bailout system. So we're very excited about that. I think that's some great news. As you all know, it was originally budgeted for this year to do the ropes bailout system. So that will free up some additional funding that we'll try to figure out what we're gonna do with that. But it is certainly some good news. The other grant that is still out, just to give you all a heads up, is the SAFER grant. That is the FEMA grant for firefighter staffing. That is still out. We have not yet received the denial. We do not know if we've obviously received it yet, but I just wanted to let you all know that that the final grants are happening most likely this month or next month, because it's the end of their budget cycle for the federal government. So we'll know by then. I also wanted to give you a quick update on NICOM. I was in Albany. I got a chance to have a lot of discussions with different mayors about many different issues, but wanted to bring just a few to your attention while I was at NICOM. First, the governor's executive budget includes something called the Housing Compact. As the governor explained to the mayors during the session in Albany, with the increase of companies like Micron and others coming into Western New York, Central New York, there's going to be a huge need for housing across the state. So her rationale for the Housing Compact is to try to push municipalities and regions to increase the building of new housing, rehabbing of housing, and others across the state. I will tell you at this point, NICOM is not supportive of this, because part of her proposal, although we do support the new builds, part of the proposal requires that municipalities change their zoning laws to accommodate for new housing. It is not something that the organization NICOM supports at this time. It was very clear to the governor that yes, we do support new housing, and yes, we support providing funds for it, but if you're going to make us do that, you're not going to make us change our zoning laws just because the state says so. So more to come on that. I just wanted to let you know where the position was. There is funding in there for upgrades to infrastructure, as well as funding to actually change the zoning laws, but we as an organization do not believe that's going to be enough, given the amount of additional housing the state is looking to build. I did receive like a 2 or 3 pager on the Housing Compact, so tomorrow morning I'll have Michaela email that all out to you so that you all have that, and you can kind of read what some of those points are and see where some of the pain points are. In the same vein, AIM, the funding to the municipality, has remained the same. It's something that we've also said we would like as a state to increase. There's obviously a lot more costs to run cities, towns, villages, and the fact that that has not changed in several decades is become a huge issue. I'll also note 2 other items that from NICOM, well, actually 3, because one I think is going to become important. There is about $5 billion in the state budget for migrant aid, so communities that have seen increases in migrants. There is funding that will be made available to those municipalities. We're still trying to learn more about what that's going to look like. And there is a provision in the executive budget for reform of the bail reform laws. So obviously this is a pretty big thing for a community like Jamestown as well. It does provide discretion to judges under the bail reform. So I'll send you all some more information on that as well. But obviously you are all very well aware of the challenges we have here in Jamestown. And I personally expressed to the governor the fact that we have a lot of issues when it comes to bail reform here in the city of Jamestown, and the sooner that that can be passed, the sooner that we can deal with a lot of issues that we see on a recurring basis here. Okay. And then we also got a chance to meet the Commissioner of Civil Service, who's actually from Erie County, which was quite great. Civil Service is piloting new programs for healthcare workers, and we're hoping that that will soon extend to other titles. But essentially, it is a way to get healthcare workers and certain civil service positions in faster without having to necessarily take an examination. So it's a pilot program that they're working on. We're hoping that that could also extend to other positions that we desperately need people, such as fire, EMS, and police. So more to come on that as well. And the last item that I have for you is road requests. Jeff's going to really hate me for this, but if you have any specific road requests this year, as we go through the process, send them to Randy.
Yeah.
So that we can start to take a look to see if there's any potential to add those to the list. As you all know, we start looking at roads usually a year prior, so road requests that you guys gave us last year, we start looking at those now, but if there's other ones that are particularly bad, please let us know so that we can start to have our engineers take a look at those. Sorry, Randy.
It's okay. We did discuss.
You signed up for it.
We did discuss that. There is, it's gonna be another good year,
It
Jeff
is.
said, for, some resurfacing, and of course, we got the, you know, the water, line problems on, two different streets, so they'll be busy with that, and so it'll be another banner year again, and we'll get our list compiled. But I wanted to ask you a question, Eddie, has there been any new, is there any update, about migrants in the past couple weeks, entering Jamestown, or any other updates?
Just that our team has been working with, we've had direct phone calls with the Department of Homeland Security. We've been working with the White House Intergovernmental Affairs Office, and we're working with Social Security. There have, to our knowledge, we've not seen an influx currently of additional migrants. So we're just kind of working with them and the organizations that are directly working with them to get Social Security cards, which would allow them to get certain benefits, but also to have some type of ID, which is required for the food bank and other things. So,
Was there money that the governor has allocated to the counties that I may have seen?
the executive budget includes $5 billion for migrant services, but that obviously will take some time to process through the state budget and then get to where it needs to go. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I think New York City alone is said they've spent almost $2 billion
Yeah.
on migrant affairs.
We're getting a lot.
So, but we are working with our federal partners to try to deal with that. We're also working with locally the United Way, which has access to FEMA has a humanitarian fund that would help also provide those services through other organizations, through local organizations. Does that answer your question, Randy?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? All right. I do have 2 items for executive session, 1 personnel and 1 possible litigation. Other than that,
Just
I
a
think we
reminder,
moved quick.
before we go into executive session, we're off next week, right?
Yes, President's Day.
Yep, and then the voting session is in 2 weeks.
One other thing out of finance that came up last month that we wanted to get voted on were the 2 suggestions by the Salary Review Commission. And I wondered if you had a status on that yet. Our goal was to try to get it voted on as soon as possible.
Yep, I think Mr. Armando has been working with NICOM on some of your requests. We've not gotten any specific word on what final language you would all like for a bill, but I know Mr. Armando's been working with NICOM to answer some of the particulars of the questions that you all have.
Okay. So you're not waiting for anything from Jeff's request, or?
No, I wanted to speak with Jeff about it a little bit, but,
Okay.
and I spoke with Tony a little bit, and maybe just, we can craft something.
Okay.
Let's plan on kind of wrap that up in the next, so we have something to, for the March, because obviously it's too late now for February, so. Seems like, unless we can do something in the next, it should be something that we bring back and talk about. We don't have another meeting before the voting session, so I would say something within the March time period so we can get that on the agenda. Because again, it has to be tabled for a month anyway, so now you're into April. Get moving on that, so. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? Second, no. All in favor?
Aye.
No action to